right, rock stars, Eric Andres, your Guitar Sage here today. Welcome. This is our live broadcast that we'll be doing today at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time and tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, where today I'll be showing you how to use music theory for playing by ear. A lot of folks don't know this, but knowing your music theory has everything to do with playing by ear. A lot of people think it has to do with the ear. So let me ask you, have you ever seen your favorite guitarist and they're on stage, they're doing all this stuff, they're improvising, just like I was doing just now, just improvising, meaning you're coming up with stuff at the spur of the moment, and you say, wow, they have some sort of magic, some sort of something that I'll never be able to get a hold of. Or have you ever wanted to be able to do that yourself? If you answered yes to either of those, my friends, you're in the right place. Because today I'm going to be pulling the veil back from the myths and the folklore of playing by ear. Truly, if you're one of those people right now that think, yeah, you're born with the ears that you have and that's it, then this is exactly the seminar for you, the webinar for you, okay? Because truly, I'm here to tell you that 100% of it is learned. There's not a thing that I do on the guitar that I didn't learn, didn't have a good ear in the beginning. Now my ear's better, and it can always get better. Everybody's on a continuum, and they're playing. In fact, I just answered a message from someone this morning where they said, hey, Eric, I get really frustrated with guitar. Can you give me some sort of advice to keep motivated? I'm just truly not motivated. And I see all these other guitar players, and I feel like I'm never going to be that good. Which I replied to him, I said, that's like an infant, it's like a toddler looking at an adult working at a desk or being a coach or doing anything professionally and going, there's no way I'm ever going to do that. Heck, I can't even use the restroom, or I can't even walk or talk yet. I'll never be able to do that. So if you have that notion in your head that you're never going to be a specific type of guitar player that you desire, or that you don't have the ability or the tools to have a great ear, then you're just like that infant or that toddler who's looking at an adult saying, there's no way I'll ever be that. Now we know that. We know that that toddler will grow up and be a full-fledged adult eventually by just learning one thing after another. And that is truly how all of this will unravel for you, both playing guitar and playing by ear. Okay, so very important that we start off this two-part series here with your understanding of that. Now, if you don't believe me at all, then just trust me, okay? Chances are you're here for a reason because you trust me. So just trust me. I have no reason to lead you into untruth, okay? There's nothing I hate worse than untruth or things that have a smattering of truth and then lies in it, okay? Facebook or whatever. Drives me nuts, okay? So I'm definitely one of those that dislike that. So anything that I'm going to tell you here, I promise you, it's the gospel, it's truth, and it's going to lead you into where you want to be as a guitar player. Okay, cool. All right. So without further ado, there are two places that you can be to download this PDF that I've created for you today. How important is the PDF? It's super important because some of this stuff today you're going to forget about. Not only that, there's some stuff covered in the PDF that I'm only going to graze over today, okay? Because there's no way for me to go over it all and get to the questions and all the rest. So it's really important that you go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/YourGuitarSage, or YourGuitarSage.com, or sorry, youtube.com/YourGuitarSage. Chances are you're there already. If you're on Instagram, you know where to go. Go to my Facebook or YouTube. Download the PDF. You'll see the description or the link in the description of the video. Okay. So very quickly, what we're going to do. I don't have my iPad here. So let's do this. Let's go to my screen, and we're going to look at this PDF. I'm going to go over this PDF with you, and Chris, I'll need your guidance on this one today. Thank you, buddy. All right. So this is the PDF, and I just want to graze over it very quickly for you, okay? How to use music theory for playing by ear. Some people out there are going, ooh, that's so interesting. What a concept. Playing by ear has everything to do with music theory. 80% of it has to do with music theory. It's upstairs. Don't worry about it, guys. Thank you, Mike. All right, so it has everything to do with it. Okay, and let me tell you this before we delve into this. Think about this for a moment. If you're a pilot, okay, or you are a captain of a ship, you don't have your radars, you don't have a map, you don't have the stars to guide you, or whatever it is that you're using for coordinates, okay, how great of a captain or a pilot are you going to be? Now, for those of you, now I know we got a lot of vets here watching today, so this is really going to resonate with you guys, right? Because they give you tools to know where you're at. Maps, this, that, and the other thing to understand where you're at in the field, right? So the ego may say, well, look, I'm a great navigationalist. Is that a word? I don't know. It is now. But nonetheless, I'm great at navigating. So I'd be able to figure it out. Well, let's not be too hasty there, because if you take all the tools away, okay, you are not going to be able to navigate. I'm so sure about this, and we can talk about it in the questions later on. But it always has to do with your basing your coordinates on something, on an unknown. But if you have a map and you have the stars and everything else, you can figure out where you're at. Radar, tools, okay? So take those tools away from that great pilot or that great captain, and all of a sudden they're going to be as lost as you and I with the tools if we don't know how to measure those tools or what those tools mean to us. So in the same way, the exact same way, a musician who doesn't have the tools, who's getting the same amount of information, isn't really going to be able to do anything with it. Conversely, the musician who has a smattering of information but really knows how to use those tools, music theory in this case, is truly going to be able to navigate the fretboard, know what key they're in, know what chords are probably going to be appearing, know what the melody is going to be centered around. Instead of having all these notes to choose from, all of a sudden we've got maybe 7 notes to choose from. I'm going to show you all this, okay? So that's what I mean by this, okay? If you don't believe me, stick around. I promise you, you're gonna be convinced by the end of this. 3 links I want you to be aware of today. Obviously, the website, the free beginner series. You're gonna hear me talk about this a lot because I can only touch on some of these subjects that you're gonna have to delve into and invest in, just like you would invest in someone who you love or the stock market or whatever you invest in, time. You know, you're going to have to, if you're serious about it, you have to delve, you got to go in deeper, right? That's what this beginner series is, because I'm teaching you so much of the theory that I'm going to be talking about today, but in more detail, okay? So you just literally just click on that link. You're there. It's free. I created this for folks who need extra help, okay? And I can't meet with everybody, right? The Veterans Day specials, this is literally, I think tomorrow is the last day that we're doing this. If you're a veteran, I'm literally giving you the Unstoppable Guitar System for free. It's like more than a $400 value, because we're giving you $365 as well. But we've had, I think, like 900 veterans sign up for this already, which is beautiful. So thank you to our veterans. Thank you for your service. We love you. As one way that we can just say thank you. So if you're a veteran, click on that link. You'll figure out how to get in there. We have it all set up for you, okay? For those of you that aren't veterans and are still interested in the Unstoppable Guitar System, it's 60% off. This deal is going away tomorrow. It's like $159 normally. It's $400, and then we also give you the $80 365. We throw that in there. But today it's like literally $159. Okay, so read this over on your own. This part right here, this intro, is basically what I just talked to you about, but in more detail about those, about navigating and all the rest, okay? This diatonic harmony, I'm going to be talking about it with you today, but essentially diatonic, you can just think about it as the major scale. Okay, major scale rules supreme when we're talking about music theory and understanding music theory, the way the chords work, the way melodies work, the way everything works. Think about diatonic harmony or the major scale. Let's make it simple, right? The major scale. You've heard it before. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Whoa, ooh, we're out in space. Hold on. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, can you count to 7? Yeah? Okay, good. Me too. So if you can count to 7, you literally can understand all of music theory. Music theory is not that difficult, but I should say you can understand the parts of music theory that we really need to get our ear attenuated and know where we're at in the field, okay, with this music theory that we're going to be talking about today. So some of these terms, just if they freak you out, just ignore them right now. Don't focus on that, because I'm going to navigate you through it, okay? All right, and the only difference between you and me is I've done this stuff for longer, probably. Maybe not. Maybe there's some watching that have done it longer than me. So the only difference is that I've done this stuff for a while. That's it. Okay. So we're going to be talking about the major scale. I'll be coming back to this as well. And yes. Okay. And we're going to be talking about some bits and pieces. I want you to go through this when we're done. And yeah, and we will be referring back to it. Also, this number system chart, we're going to be referring back to that. Okay. All right, so let's delve into it in the importance of where we need to be. And then we'll come back to this PDF here as we need it, okay? So hopefully by now you've downloaded that PDF. I want you to look at this on your own later. Let's talk about this idea of why it is that we need this basic music theory. I promise you, Eric, I've tried music theory before. I don't get it. If you can count to 7, you can get this, my friends. Trust me. It took me 5 times to get through algebra in college. If I can do it, trust me, you can do it. Okay? So if you can count to 7, you've got this. So here it goes. What we're going to do is we're going to drill down in the importance of finding out, now that we have a map, okay? Let's say we are in New York. We're in the center of New York. You don't know that the streets go in numerical order. You can't talk to anybody because that counts as a tool. Let's say you're a child, right? Let's bring it down to a 3-year-old, lost in the city, New York City. You don't know what is where. You're confused because you don't have the tools yet. You haven't developed them yet, right? But let's just say you're a few years into it now and you're still searching. Someone shows you a map. They're like, dude, here, have a map. Get around. You're like, thanks. You see other people with maps, they're getting around. But there's a disconnect still because you got this map, but you don't know what's what, right? It's because a few things. Number one, you may not know how to read a map. And number two, let's say someone teaches you how to read the map. Here's the map. Here are the roads. Here's this, that, and the other thing. You're like, oh, great, I'm good. You walk off, you got your map, and you're like, cool, but like, I can see where everything's at, but I don't know where I'm at. Ah, that's important, right? So we got to know where we're at too. So these are all tools, believe it or not. These are all tools that if you don't have, you don't navigate. You don't know where you're going. So very important that we have these tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill down in the importance, and it's simple to slightly harder, but from important to a little less important is the way we're going to do it. So cool, right? It works out great that the more important stuff is actually easier too, okay? And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at some song examples, and I'm going to go over all this stuff with you again tomorrow and drill down deeper and get to some more questions too. So if you don't totally get it today, we're going to recap and add some more on top of this, okay? We're going to look at some song examples today and some other bits and pieces. So here are the top 3 things that, in my opinion, if you know these 3 things, you literally are going to know where everything should be at ahead of time, okay? Again, playing by ear is a minimum of 80% knowing music theory. It has a little bit to do with your ear, but it has a lot more to do with music theory, okay? So, here we go. So, the most important thing that we can know is the tonal center. Is the key of the song, or the tonal center. Why is that? Well, because essentially that's where are you on the map? Or where are you, okay? So if you don't even know where you're at, you're going to have a problem, a big problem. Because you can have all the tools, but if you don't know where you're at on the ocean and you got the stars, you can follow the stars all day long, but you don't even know where you're at, then things are going to be difficult, right? All right, so the tonal center. Now, Eric, how do we find the tonal center? There's a few different ways that we can find the tonal center, and I'm going to go over some of those with you today. Number one, the first or last chord of the song oftentimes will dictate what the tonal center is. Eric, what is the tonal center? The tonal center, if you will, is the sun in the center of the solar system with all the other planets or melody notes revolving around it, okay? So you got the sun, it's in the center, rules supreme, at least in regards to our solar system, but everything else revolves around it. With music, whether you are observant of this or not, usually it has to be shown to you, or you discover it over watching or listening to lots of music and discovering it. Oh, here comes that note again, man. Really centering around that note. Interesting. And all of a sudden, someone labels it for you. That's called the tonal center or the tonic. Then all of a sudden, you start going, oh, okay. I heard Eric talk about this, and now this is making sense, okay? So essentially, you can think about the tonal center as the subject of a speech or the title of a song. If the song is Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen, well, it might have something to do with love, and it might have something to do that he ain't talking about love. He's talking about something else. So the title gives us a clue to what the lyric of the song might be, the rest of it. Chances are if it's Ain't Talking About Love, he's going to be talking about love and talking about it not being that. Okay, does that make sense? I'm trying to make this as elementary as possible because it doesn't have to be hard. It's very simple. So, or a speech. If I say to you, music theory or playing by ear is 80% music theory. If I start off talking to you about this, chances are I'm not going to go into a big dissertation about cars or sharks. That'd be weird. I say what it is I'm going to talk about, then I talk about it and I show you pictures and what have you, and then I end it with, hey, this is what we just talked about, right? Movies, everything's set up this way. Music is set up the same way. It's probably that you just haven't been shown this yet, okay? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So think about the tonal center as being the center of the song. Oftentimes, more often than ever, it's the note and the chord that everything keeps coming back to. So for instance, if it's in the key of C, the chord progression may start on a C and end on a C, or the song may just end on the C chord, and you're like, that sounds great. Have you ever heard a song where it goes something like this? Well, that isn't right, Eric. Well, if that does that not sound right to you? Because if you're saying, yeah, Eric, that doesn't sound right to me, then guess what? You've got a musical ear because you can hear pitch. Congratulations. Everybody can hear pitch because if you can hear pitch. Hearing is made up of pitches, right? What we're hearing is all pitches. So if that sounded odd to you, then congratulations because you already clued in on the tonal center because what you wanted to hear was this. Last song of the night, last song of the concert, and your favorite artist goes, good night, everybody, right? And they do that, and you're like, oh, that's the end of the song. But if they went, and they just sat there, you'd be like, and, right? Or if they played this note, and then you'd be like, well, that's just weird. I want my money back, right? So that's what we call the tonal center. It's the note or the chord that appears typically most often. Almost always it's the first chord of the song. Almost always. And almost always it's the last chord of the song. This leads me to the next point, which is we are detectives when we're using our ear, okay? We're detectives because we're getting information all the time. Right? The universe is constantly throwing information at us, but are we aware of what it's telling us in different situations? If you're listening to Tchaikovsky or listening to any piece of music, I don't care who it is, you are literally being told the key, the chords, the melodies, sharps, flats, everything. You're being told all of that. It's just you're not aware of it yet because you don't have the music theory knowledge. That's it, okay? Same way, if you're out on the ocean, you see the stars, you know, there's information all the time that's being given to us, but if you can't read that, then it's as useless as not getting the information at all. What we're learning today is how to read the information that's already there. It's always been there. You just got to clue in on it, okay? So the tonal center. So those are two big ways. And right now, what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to play a couple pieces, and these are all my songs because I don't want to get hit with copyright infringement. So because we've been getting hit with that left and right for teaching songs, and it's a whole nother thing. Anyhow, I'm going to be playing my songs today, and just parts of it, and to show you this example. Okay, So this is a song called Sown in Tears. This is all available on Spotify and YouTube and stuff like that. But this song's called Sown in Tears, and I'm just going to play it for you for a minute because I'm going to show you this example here. Okay, so here you go. You have... Okay, a lot of information there already. Literally, all those notes, if we were to take them and analyze them on a piece of paper, it would spell out, basically it would point towards a tonal center. We're going to be talking, this is all the stuff we're talking about now. But I said to you the first chord of a song. Okay, now this isn't going to work out every time, and I have some examples that won't work out purposefully. But first note right here. It's a D. How do you know that, Eric? Well, I wrote the song, but also because I wrote the song, because I know I wrote it in D. And so the first chord goes... That's a D minor chord, okay? So just like a good movie is going to start off with a scene that's not going to throw you off. I mean, it's trying to warm you up. You just came in walking from your car, you're walking into the movie theater, and now they're bringing you into a new reality or a new fantasy or whatever. They've got to get you into this new mindset of, hey, now we're talking about this story. You just saw those trailers and you have all this stuff at home, but now we're into this story. So they're going to open the scene up for you, and you're like, oh, okay. This is whatever it is, whatever movie it is. Disney's great at this. They set the scene for you. They're in Paris, or they're in England, or they're wherever. And this is how, the beginning of Beauty and the Beast. They're in France, right? They allow you to see this is where we're at. And that's what a good song does in the beginning, is it says, hey, this is the key that we're in. So you're not thrown off guard when we start playing melodies and chords and everything else, okay? So you got that chord started off right there, right? Got a big D chord there playing on the synthesizer, right? And now, oddly enough, now that little solo part that's coming up here just so happens to be in the key of D minor, okay? So we're going to use other examples here, but essentially the chord progression's in D minor, the first chord's a D minor, and the melody of the song's in D minor. This is not a coincidence. This is like 99.999% of 100% of songs that you hear. The melody and the chords are in the same key. It's like two people talking. It would be odd if we had a conversation. You were talking about sharks and I was talking about cars. It'd be very, very awkward. It's not how we converse. We talk about the same thing, right? Music does the same thing. So here's another one called The Return. So it starts off with that big boom, which is a D, okay? It just so happens that I analyzed these chords, right? These songs right before we went on air, and 3 of them are in the key of D, and one of them is in the key of D sharp, which is kind of funny because I never write in those keys, but there you go. Okay, so, but I guess I do. So this song is in the key of D minor. Now, you might be saying to yourself, okay, Eric, but like, how do I even find that note? Okay, which that's the 20% or so that is developed. Well, it's all developed, but one thing that one needs to do is they need to work on their ear by just finding notes, single notes. This is how I learned how to play guitar. This is how most people learn how to play guitars. They just hear a melody and they start finding it on the fretboard. That's it. And so, with that being said, in the free course, I'm pretty sure it's in the free course that I'm giving you guys today, I have a method called the hum and hunt method, where if I said, if I just hum that note, I can easily find it by just literally hunting for it, okay? It's like scanning a field. If you lose a necklace or ring or a bracelet or something, and it's in the middle of a football field like I did when I was a kid, you don't go over here and then go over here and then go over here and go over here and go over here and go over here. That would be a really ridiculous way to search, right? It's not what you do. You scan. You go across, you make sure you've covered everything on one portion, then you keep going, keep going, keep going. That's what we're doing here. I can't go into detail on how to do this because it's in the free course and it's going to take me 10 minutes. We don't have 10 minutes. Suffice to say, we're looking for a tonal center. First chord, last chord almost always is going to determine that. Here is Amazing Grace that I did with an ebow to make it sound like bagpipes. So literally that little melody. Now I'm listening to this. Now I did listen to it beforehand. So okay, I guess I did this in the key of D. I'm not really thinking about that stuff so much when I'm playing. I mean, I did at some point, but suffice to say, this is in D because I'm listening to it. Okay, using this method I'm talking about. That's the 20% that truly is your ear that you're going to have to develop the techniques that I teach you how to do that for free in that course. But this is in D, okay? And this particular one is in D major. This is Amazing Grace, and we know it's in D major. So there is a construction to the major scale as well that I talk about inside that PDF, okay? We can't go into all the details right now. This is why we have to do this over 2 days. I'm giving you a lot of information, and everybody's at a different place, okay? So if you have to fill in some holes, I've got all that information for you for free. Just know that you may have to do that. Don't consider yourself as being dumb or ignorant or something like that. One doesn't know what they haven't been shown, right? Just like the 3-year-old, or just like my student this morning who's like, I don't think I'll ever be able to play like that. Well, imagine if you were an infant looking up at these adults and said, man, I've tried to walk like 70 times and I still can't do it. I don't think I'm cut out for walking or talking or pooping in a potty. Well, that would suck, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that suck if you just stopped at 70? You got to keep doing it until you get it. And guitar is no different. Dear God, why, as an adult, do we freak out because our fingertips are hurting and we can't play an F chord the first time, right? I mean, walking and talking is myriads or so many times more difficult than playing a chord. It's just we have less patience now, right? So Amazing Grace, here we got it in the key of D. You've heard my rendition of Maniac. Now this is one that does not start, the first chord does not start on the 1 or our tonic, okay? But I'll show you how we can still figure this out. It's in D sharp, I think. Okay, now, before we even delve into this, you know, we got this little melody, or the bass line. Now, I can tell you that from experience that I can hear that first note is not the tonic, but that it leads up and it rests. It's like this tension building. And then it's a little bit more restful here. I can also tell you just by listening to it off the top of my head, because of experience, not because I was born with some special ability, because I was not. I can tell you that it's in a minor key. Here, tell me, which chord sounds happier? This chord or this chord? If you said the second chord, well then look at you, right? You've got great ears. They're working. Good. Okay, we just need to develop them more, okay? This is a minor chord. This is a major chord. When you play them back to back, it's a very simple thing to hear. Later on, when you're mixing those chords with other major and minor chords, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult, but you'll get the knack of it. It's all practice. Every single bit of this is practice, okay? But with that being said, some songs don't begin with that first chord, right? Sometimes they begin with other chords. So we are detectives, essentially, in this. And the clues that we're picking up on are things like melodies, chords, what's the first chord, what's the last chord, things like that. There's a myriad of different clues that we could find, but those are the ones that are almost always present that we can immediately grab a hold of, okay? So now, why is the tonal center so important? The tonal center is so important because just like if I start off saying, today I want to talk to you about philosophy, well then you know right away that we're probably going to be talking about something having to do with philosophy, and we're not going to be talking about kittens, okay, unless the kittens have something to do with philosophy. So you know right off the bat, I'm prepping you and saying this is what we're going to be doing. So in the same way, the tonal center is so important because, look, we got all these notes. We got tens of thousands of chords possibilities that we can play, including inversions and different fingerings and what have you. Oh my God, Eric, how do you navigate that? Because it's not really important if you have a map to the world if you are only in one city, and in fact, you're only in one portion of the city. Does it matter what the roads look like in China if you're not in China? Of course not. It matters on your little place. And this, what happens is a lot of times people look at the big picture and they get so overwhelmed thinking that they need to know all this stuff all the time. Well, I can tell you that the pros don't do this, so why are you putting all that weight on your shoulders? Just be worried about where you're at, okay? This particular song, this one particular area, that sort of thing. So knowing what key we're in does this. It basically says, okay, we're not here, we're not here, we're not here, we're not here. We're going to be somewhere in this general ballpark, okay? Just like great navigational tools, they tell us a basic idea of where we're at. Then we might have to drill down further with our expertise of how to use those tools. Okay. For instance, if you look up in the sky and you're used to seeing Orion and the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper and that sort of thing, you're probably going to be in the northern hemisphere. Probably not going to be in New Zealand. New Zealand, they've got different stars that they look at. What? You're crazy, Eric. No, I'm telling you, they have different stars because they're looking at a different part of the sky, okay? So that would be an example. So that tonal center tells us, okay, we've got a center, great. Once we find out what that tonal center is, man, game over, because what it does is there is a thumbprint, okay? There's a fingerprint that if you're not aware of this, it's not, you don't have the tools, right? You haven't been taught to read the stars yet. So there's a thumbprint of music, and essentially it's called the major scale. Whether the song's in a minor key or in a major key, there is this thumbprint, this DNA that says, okay, now that we know the tonal center, here are what most likely are the chords are going to be, okay? And that's what I cover in the PDF, that really pretty colorful picture that I had of all those different chords. That, my friends, is literally going to be that's what is going to tell you. So in fact, let's look at that really quickly. This is in your PDF, and essentially it says the number system chart. There's major keys and minor keys. That's fine. This is how I want you to think about it. If the song's in a major key, your 1 is going to be the center. I'll explain this in a minute. And if it's in a minor key, your 6 is going to be the center, okay? For right now, just trust me, treat everything like it's in a major key. Okay, I just met with a major songwriter here in Nashville, and we had this same discussion. He's like, everybody thinks that in Nashville everything's in a major key, even when it's not, even when it's in a minor key. And there's reasons for that. It's because it makes it so much more simple to think about it like this way. Okay, so now let's do this. Let's think about this for a minute. If the song's in the key of D, like Amazing Grace was, what was it? So Amazing Grace, that what we just played was, in fact, let me play this here really quickly to get it in my ears again, okay? Okay, so good. Okay, so we've got, essentially we have, so we have A. Now watch this. I'm gonna play a detective, a professional detective for a moment here, and I'm gonna say, I'm not jumping to any conclusions. I don't know who did what. I'm gonna look at the clues, and I'm gonna let it tell me, okay? I'm not gonna be triggered like some Yahoo on Facebook, right? I'm on Facebook. I'm not saying if you're on Facebook, you're Yahoo, but people get triggered so quickly, right? We're going to take the information in and we're going to assimilate it. So in here, I have an A, bum, bum. I got an A and a D, and then I have an E and an F sharp, right? Here's my melody. Okay, so now watch this. This is another way, if your ear's not telling you what key it's in, you can literally take the notes and lay them out, and with this little bit here, at least with the keys that aren't sharp or flat, I just put the simple ones in here, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then you can determine what the key is also. So we had an A, right? Remember? Bum, bum. Look at this. A, D. Now watch. Light bulb's going to go on for you in a moment, and the light's going to happen. Here we go. Here I said F sharp, E, D, F sharp. Now look at this. F sharp, E, D. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the B, A. So far, let's keep going because there's a few notes here that we hadn't identified yet. We hadn't identified the 4 or the 7. Let's see if we can identify those. So we got A, D, F sharp, E, D, F sharp, E, D, B, A, D, F sharp, E, D, F sharp, E, back to A. Okay, I still haven't found my notes yet that I'm looking for, and I don't know if we will or not, but let's keep going. Okay, so I just played through the whole melody, and basically we have D, E, F sharp, A, and B. The G and the C sharp just don't even show up. That's fine. That's the choice of the painter. They didn't want to, whoever wrote the song said, these are the colors I want to use, or the notes I want to use, and that's all they put in there. That's just creative license, right? So with that being said, we have 6 out of 8, or we have 5 out of 7 clues here that are really saying that it looks like we're in the key of D. If you went up to any of these other ones, you're going to find that instead of a B, right, you would find B flat right here, you know? Or if it was an F sharp, okay, cool, you got an F sharp in the key of E, but maybe one of the other notes wouldn't work out. Well, yeah, let's see, like the D. Like the D is sharp in the key of E. So that automatically would probably be a clue to say, well, we're not in that key. Okay, so you can use different things to determine what the tonal center is. First chord, last chord, the melody, the chord progression. Let's say right off the bat we had a song that had a C and a G and an A minor and an F. Now watch this, okay? These are the tools that I'm saying that once you understand this stuff, oh my gosh, all of a sudden your ear just becomes magically powerful. It's not your ear so much, it's your interpretation of the information that's always been hitting your ears, but now you're able to interpret it because you've developed the tools, okay? So let's talk about that. So we have a chord progression, we hear it, and we're saying, well, Eric said we could do first chord, last chord. We could take the melody and analyze that. It'd be the fingerprint, and the major scale would show up, or we could do it with the chord progression. So we have C and G and A minor and F, right? Well, let's look at this. Watch this. C, G, A minor. Huh, cool, right? And oh, wait a minute, F sharp, and by the way, that's diminished. Don't have to know what that means, it's F sharp. Well then, F sharp, well that's not the key of G. Let's keep going, right? Look at this. I can just tell you to save you time here that the key of C has all these chords that we want. There's the C, there's the A minor, there's the F, and there's the G. Okay? So, big indication that those are, that we're in the key of C. Notice what happens here. If we have just the melody, we're just working with single notes. But when we have the chords, the flavors of the chords like major and minor, they're bringing in more notes. So they're more complex and they have more clues. In fact, they have 3 clues built into them. A major and a minor chord are known as a triad, meaning they have 3 notes in them. So automatically, instead of 1 note, now we have 3 notes. And if it's a major chord, you've got 1 set of 3 notes. If it's a minor chord, you have another set of 3 notes. But nonetheless, if we just play the chords, we can automatically see here, we're probably in the key of C, okay? Now, for some of you, you're like, over my head, over my head, over my head. That's okay, because just like the infant who's just barely crawling, you haven't learned to walk yet. So certainly you're not going to get on a tricycle, and you better not be getting on a bicycle, and you certainly aren't getting on a motorcycle, and you're certainly not going to be doing motocross. But you can see this progression, right? No one who's ever been in motocross has not ridden a bicycle first and rode a tricycle before that, learned how to walk before that, and learned how to crawl before that. So just understand, you, like every great guitar player since the beginning of time, is on a continuum. And the only thing that you need to get control of is understanding that you are where you are today. You're better than you were yesterday, and that's the direction you want to go. What tools do I need to get there? That's it. Bottom line. Don't overthink it. That's all it is. And practice is the thing that's going to get you there. Okay? I think this is probably a good place for us to take some questions, because I've gone much longer than I normally do on these. Okay? So I really want to get to some questions. I know you guys have them, and I just barely scratched the surface of this. We need to cover this stuff again tomorrow. I want you to read through the PDF. Those folks that are still on Instagram, go to YouTube, go to Facebook, get the PDF. By the way, while you're doing that right now, please, friends, share this video right now. As you know, we love to give stuff away. We just set up like 800 of our most loyal vets to the Unstoppable Guitar System /365, and we want to help you out too. So we're going to award a winner for these broadcasts, as we always do. So if you share it, we pick someone after the show. Okay, share it on Facebook, Twitter, all those different places that one can share. Okay, and now we're going to get to some questions. And I know that I threw a lot at you because, in fact, I wanted to have some more song examples. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll go over more song examples. Tom R.O. Okay? All right. So, in the meantime, let's get to some questions. And today what we're going to do is we're going to start on YouTube. I think we started on Facebook last time. And, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to start on... We're going to start on YouTube today, okay? Alrighty, here we go. Did you find your ring on the field? I didn't. No, I was actually a necklace, and I never found it. It was literally a football field. And it was like a brown cross. Yeah, never found it. But I have found things like that before, right? That's right. Not going to be triggered like some newbie detective. That's right. Some Yahoo that wants to just have the answer right away, right? We're smarter than that. We want to investigate. So as someone who's learning by ear, there are clues. Now, later on, you are going to be very quick at this. You get very quick, just like a good detective would. But a good detective is still going to say, the hunch he'll keep in his head. She'll keep in his head, right? In her head. And then... But still, you got to test it. If you're being truthful to yourself and you're being truthful to your end result, you need to test, right? Just like a good scientist will do as well, or should. Okay, so was that little magic gizmo that changed the molecules of your guitar into a majestic bagpipe? That's called the ebow. This is called an ebow. It's a little electronic device, and what it does is it vibrates the string. So I can do this. You lay it on the strings. Let's see, we did this in D. sounds much better if I have got some more overdrive in it like this. That's called an ebow. They're about 70 or 80 bucks. I think they may have a new version of it. This is kind of old school, but it's pretty. I love it. They're so much fun. I love little bits and pieces like that. They bring excitement to your playing. Yeah. Eric used it in the Duran Duran video. Did I? Yes, I did. Yeah. And I don't know if he does or not, but I don't know if he uses it or not, but there's some sort of like that guitar is resonating in some way, and that's you either do it with feedback or you do it with an ebow. Okay? So, Mike, the way I got the bagpipe sound is I listened to a lot of bagpipes, and I just tried to emulate, and I read up about bagpipes and what they do, and like the certain, basically, if you have a bunch of bagpipists, I don't know what you'd call them, guitarist, bagpipist, bagpiper, probably bagpiper. Let's go with that. If you have a lot of bagpipers, right? And one will play the tonic of the chord, the 1, like we talked about, and then there's always somebody who plays like a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember I said if you can count to 7, you're fine? They have that note in there, and I think a 4. Yeah. So anyhow, so I read up about that, and different parts will play a different part of the chord. Bagpipes can, I believe, play 2 notes at a time and no more than that. I'm pretty sure. There's a drone note, and then there's their melody. So they go, and they got that thing under their arm, and they keep blowing into it, right? Filling up that bellow, and they press it down. They got that one drone note, and then they have the pipes that they can create a melody on top of it. And that's basically what I did. And 2, when they're just starting to press down on that, they're out of pitch for a second, and then they go up to pitch, and you can hear that I did that on the CD there. So I just listened, and then also what I did is I used enough overdrive. I used an ebow because there's not a sharp attack. It's a very smooth legato attack, as I talk about in the courses, right? It's very smooth. And then also they do like a lot of trills, like because the bagpipe is just a constant pushing of air out it in order for you to have a pick sound or some sort of attack. Like here's a note. You can't do that on a bagpipe. You can't go. You'd have to go. You have to hit another note and noodle up to it to make it sound like a new note. And that's exactly what I did, the way that I kind of got in the mind of a bagpiper and did that. How can I merge 2 or more scale forms to play them seamlessly? Celeste is saying. Celeste, what I like to do is I like to take a form, say like form 1 and form 2, and I'll literally just think about, well, how do I want to move from one to the next? So I might just go. Form 1 being this, right? At least the top 3 strings. Form 2 being. So I just think, well, I want to get to some other part here, and I'll just slide. And then I think, okay, now I'm in this form. I don't have to worry about this form anymore, just like we talked about in a map. If you're in Manhattan, then you're in one section, right? And then if you're in Queens, you're in another section, or right? I don't know New York that well. But if you're in the Bronx, you're in another section. So if you're trying to get out of the Bronx, then you just need to look at the Bronx part of the map, not the Queens part of the map. Does that make sense? So that's how guitar players think. I think so much of guitar, so many of the problems with people quitting playing guitar or thinking that they're not good at guitar or something has everything to do with folklore and myth. They think that things are a certain way that they just aren't at all, and then they give up. So even the best guitar players in the world are not thinking of all the different maps at once. It's just the brain doesn't need to think that way. So because of that, the brain doesn't develop that way. Like there's no one who thinks that way. There's not a use for it. You know, now what does happen is that you may be able to switch very quickly or have the ability to go from one form to another quickly, right? But it literally has to do with, okay, I'm in this form, now I'm in this form. It's just more of a quick switching from one to the next. Oh my goodness gracious, I swear to God there is a roach in here the size of a small child. All right, dear Lord in heaven, help me out here. I'm not going to be able to concentrate with that thing running around my feet. Dear Jesus, run away, run away. Holy mackerel. Can you hear that thing running? It's huge. All right. All right, so that's how I do it, and that's how everybody does it, really. You just take two forms and you just kind of figure out where you want to slide from one to the next, you know. On the number chart, pound equals sharp, B equals flat, that equals diminished. What is the minus sign? The minus sign is minor for a minor key, or a minor chord in this case, okay? Any advice for detecting chord inversions by ear? Yes, listen to the bass note. You know, whatever the bass note is, what I do, so an inversion, friends, is when we take a chord and we put some note other than the typical note, usually the letter name of the chord, we put some other note other than that note in the bass. So for instance, if it's a C major chord is a C, E, G. So normally we play a C, E, G with a C in the bass, or the lowest note. But there's nothing stopping us from playing a C major chord with a G in the bass. Sounds different. But what I would listen to is I'd say, okay, boom, I'd hear that low G, and I would hum it, and I'd go, okay, well, is it a G chord? And I'd play the G chord. Now, that sounds totally different, the flavor of it, right? Even though we got that G in the bass. But this sounds different, right? So I would probably play the G chord and then hear, that's not right. Maybe a C chord with a G in the bass. Yep, that's it. But I would use music theory again to say, well, what chord could it be? You know, I'm not going to just be grabbing it at a few tens of thousands of chords. I'm only going to probably grab at 2 or 3 chords, because the information that I've given you today literally will help take the possibilities of tens of thousands of chords and really will allow you to see that probably it's only 2 or 3 chords at the most. Okay? We'll talk about this more tomorrow. But essentially, that's how you do it. Otherwise, no one's ear is that good. No one. And trust me, I know all the amazing great guitar players in the world, and that's not how we do it. And I say we, I just threw myself in there. I definitely don't include myself in that. But what I mean is that's not how professional guitar players do it. That's not how people who've been playing for decades do it. They do it through music theory. Now, whether they think that they know music theory or not, they know music theory. They know patterns, okay? It's impossible to play for years and not know the instrument, okay? Even if it's from an organic level, it's still music theory. I don't care what you call it. I'll take Adrian Belew or any guitar player who says they don't know music theory, and I will show them that they know music theory, because Adrian Belew will say, I don't know any pentatonic scales. The guy knows what he's doing, so he knows, but from a more organic level. It just means you don't know the labels. That's all it means. You know the same exact material. You just don't know the labels. That's all. Labels help so we can communicate together, you know? Okay. Bag peep. Okay, good. All right, so is there a problem with storing guitars in cases versus displaying on wall hangers? Man, I've got very, very expensive guitars hanging from the walls. When I go into Groons, they've got, with the exception of maybe the $300,000 guitars, they're all hanging. You probably don't want to hang them for decades, but at the same time, it's not that big of a deal. When I say it's not that big of a deal, all the pros do it. So I think if there was a problem by now, someone would have figured that out. Off topic, but why do my guitars, when hung on the wall, go sharp? Robert's saying. It could be that the wall is colder or hotter than the rest of the room. That happens a lot if you're living in a place where, in fact, they'll say that if you're going to hang a guitar on a wall, especially if you're in a cold environment, don't hang them on the outside walls, hang them on the inside walls, because they're going to be a lot warmer than an outside wall that's constantly, getting hit by cold weather. So chances are it's something like that. Okay. All right, good. I'm going to jump over very quickly to Facebook, okay? I'm going to move this around her. Okay, I'm running over to Facebook here really quickly. I'm going to get to some questions here, okay? All right, hey, I really want you guys to understand this today. It's so important for your musical growth. You're taking the time to watch me today. I know I'm extremely entertaining, but no, seriously, if you want to, you're taking this time to learn, so come on, let's learn this stuff. So ask those questions away, because I know there's disconnects. There always is. So let me get you there, okay? Phil, what's up, Phil from Bavard? That's a face and a name from the past. What's up, brother? And you know Rico. I didn't know that. You know Rico Thomas. I got a story about him and me. Good guy, amazing guitar player. But yeah, I'll tell you real quick. We both auditioned for Margaret Becker, who was a Christian artist back in the 90s, and we were the last two to win the audition. Me and my girlfriend broke up that week, and I was a mess, which I shouldn't have been, but I was a blubbering idiot, and didn't go back to the last audition. What? So obviously I did not get the gig, but Rico did, and he went on tour with Margaret, which he's a good guy, so I'm glad I did that. Okay. All right, I'm looking. 7, question mark, isn't 8? Mary, well, the reason I say 7 notes is because the 8 is the octave, or it's a duplicate note, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, do. They're octaves of each other. Essentially the same note. If it was a C major scale, it'd be C, D, E. It'd be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, C. They're the same note. It's just their bookends, if you will. We only really need one of them. So really 7 notes. But yes, typically when we play a scale, thank you, Gary, for answering that. Yeah, typically when we're playing a scale, we play it for octave to octave, because it would sound weird to go. Not terribly weird, but usually we go that sort of thing, okay? Hi, Eric. I'm a proud veteran of the U.S. Navy. Thank you for the gift. You're so welcome, brother. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, John. Yep. So kind. Yeah. If you put a cover on Facebook, sometimes they don't like that, but usually they're on Facebook. They're listening more for the original, Jeff, you're in the right place, brother. Right here. Brian, great question. Why not in the key of A? You're saying why not in the key of A? You're talking about. Let's talk about it. So we have we got an F sharp, we got an E, we got a D, B, A, That's the answer right there. Now notice this. This is a great, fantastic. I love that you brought this up, Brian, because think about yourself as a detective, and you're challenging me. You're saying, man, I know what you're saying. The clues point to this, but why can't it be this? Beautiful, Brian. Thank you. Great work. Brian did this on Facebook. He said this because what he did is he noticed that all the notes that I played are also in the key of A. So he's 100% right. Why can't it be the key of A? And here is why I'm leaning towards D still. Even though just now that you challenged me on that, and I'm like, oh, he may be right. And that's great because a detective, as a scientist, you should say, I just want the truth. If I have to be humbled, then I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? Let's not let our ego get in the way of truth. So we're looking for truth here. We're looking for what the key is. It's not going to help us to lie about the key. We're going to have all sorts of messed up chords, right? So here's why it is actually in the key of D, Brian, as opposed to A, is because when we resolved it, it rests, it lands on this, it comes home to this, okay? So, also, if we were to actually play all the notes in the key of A, even though they're so close to each other, and even though we don't really play those other notes, here's how I can describe it. There is an assumption, okay? Our ears, your ears, do this already. Your ears assume, even though you don't know what the tonal center is, you may not be able to identify it, it still resonates with you. It's still like something that you're like, ah, yeah. You have feelings, you get emotions from music. And if we were to resolve that melody, you see how it wants to magnetically pull back to that D? We couldn't go and rest and say, good night, everybody, welcome. Or good night, everybody, beautiful, you've been the best audience ever. We can't do that. We can't end it on that A because it just doesn't sound right. So sometimes, even if all the clues match, right? Now, we could further analyze this with chord structures and stuff like that. We could further analyze this, although this was a tricky one because those bagpipers are just sitting on that one chord, okay? They're just sitting on that one chord. They don't change chords. That's what bagpipes do. But another clue is, what sounds natural? Okay, that's something else you could go with. But this actually goes back to rule one, was first chord, last chord. So now, or first note, last note. Now this one started on the A, right? But it ends on a D. So technically, Brian, what you're saying, yes, I should say it like this. The information that you provided and the challenge that you provided, 100% correct, beautiful, great example, and I love that you brought that up. So technically, it looks like it could be in that key, but the ear tells us it's not. It's actually in the key of D. But I was open to it. If we resolved that on that A, I'd have been like, Brian, you're right, sir. And I definitely have been wrong before, so challenge me. I'm fine with that. I don't know everything either. I'm learning too. Okay, Sean's saying, okay, so each key has its own set of notes that basically link them together. Yes. So therefore, knowing this is how you would play by ear, by knowing the notes of the key. Kind of, Sean. If you asked me what the notes in A major were, or F sharp major or something, I'd have to think about it. This is the way that I do it, Sean. It's so much easier, and this is how I teach it inside my free program, is you just know the construction of the major scale. If it's D, if you're starting on a D, then the construction is, for every major scale, on every instrument, in every key, from the beginning of time to the end of time, amen, is this. You play your first note. I don't care what the name of that note is. Pick any note, doesn't matter. But the construction is this. Whole step, half step, whole, half. Okay, that's covered in the PDF, so you don't have to memorize that right now. But essentially, that pattern is your thumbprint. It's your DNA. Just like when you go to your iPhone, you put your thumb in there, it's identifying your face or whatever. It's a really hard one to cheat because it's looking for little nuances, and that's exactly what the scale does. If the scale went like this, if it went instead of then that little note change there would probably determine that it's in a different key. So, Sean, what I do is, yeah, you can do it that way if you're really good with key signatures and knowing the sharps and flats of a specific key. Otherwise, just take the scale. But Eric, we're gonna have to learn it in all 12 keys? Yeah, watch how hard this is. Watch. Key of D. D sharp. E. F. Now, I couldn't just tell you the sharps and flats off the top of my head. It would take me a second. Why? Because I never ever need it. So why would my brain store that in short-term memory? It's going to put it in, I could figure it out as if I should ever need it. I never use that. That's the way I teach all my courses, all my students. Everything is like, I say, why would you take the energy and the time to learn something that you're never going to learn? I don't plan on being in China anytime soon. I don't know a lick of Chinese, but these Chinese kids running around know Chinese like that. It's amazing because they're using it all the time, right? So focus on the stuff that you need to focus on. So learn the way that I teach the major scale inside that free course, Sean. Do that, and then you don't have to know all the sharps and flats. It doesn't matter. But yes, once you know the notes, then you also know the chords according to the colorful chord chart there that I created. By the way, the green ones are major chords. The red ones are minor chords, just to make it even easier for you, even though I have it marked at the top of the page there. And then the diminished chord, which you're never probably going to play, is going to be the purple chord, okay? All right, Jonathan, thank you for sharing. Juan, thank you for sharing. Everybody, if you haven't shared it already, sharing is caring, and it'll also give you a chance to win a lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System. So please do that. How often do you practice learning new songs by ear? Jonathan, all the time. Anytime I'm teaching a song on YouTube, I'm doing that by ear. With that being said, again, I'm learning a few things by ear, but then I'll use other tools too. There's no need in me reinventing the wheel. So if somebody has sat down and worked out all sorts of parts of a solo or something like that, and instead of me starting from scratch, now I will typically start from scratch and say, this is what I think it is, and then I'll go and I'll look for other interpretations of it, just like I would if I'm with detectives, right? I'd say, well, what do you think? I never thought about that. That's a great idea, Brian. Let me think about that. Okay, no, it's not that, but it could have been. Thank you could have saved my ass there, right? So that's what I do. I'll use the tools that are at my disposal. But almost always I'm doing this stuff by ear, but I'm using that music theory to say, this is what key I think it's in. This is where I think we're going with this, that sort of thing. Cool? All right, good. Tom's saying, I started playing keyboard before I learned guitar. I see in my head the keyboard on the fretboard and relate to the melody. What are your views on how closely related they are? Piano and guitar are both stringed instruments. Tom, I use the piano, or used to use it a lot in my head, at least as far as like teaching music theory. Inside the Unstoppable Guitar System, I use the keyboard all the time because you can literally look at the piano and see that the white keys are all natural and the black keys are sharps and flats. Whereas on the guitar, well, where the hell are they, right? They're all over the place. You'd have to know where they are, which is very simple. But I mean, you just look at the white keys on the piano; those are naturals, and the black keys are sharps and flats. So you know where to find your sharps and flats if it's a key with sharps and flats in it. So I think the piano is very useful, at least in the beginning, for understanding, oh, okay, so if I'm in the key of C, it's all the white keys, and that whole step, half step just so happens to miss all the black keys. If we decide we're going to do the key of C sharp, then all of a sudden we're playing all these black keys, right? Because that's the way the whole step, half, whole, half major scale lines up on the fretboard. It just magically works that way, right? So I think it's super duper helpful. Yeah. Jeff, that Creative Commons license bit doesn't work for folks like me. If you're, if you got a lot more viewers and stuff like that, they look at me as a target and they want to make money off of my videos. So that's what they do. They put advertisements on my videos and now they're making money off my videos. This is the world we live in. Whatever. I'm not bitter. All right, so let's go to some more questions. This is I'm going back to YouTube here. Okay. Okay, here we go. Climber 7565 Eric. When using the number system, what helps decide if one should use a 6 versus a 5 at times or others? Okay, great. And by the way, friends, put a question mark at least after the question. Some folks are doing it before the question now, which is very helpful because I can see it immediately before getting to the end of the question. So, Climber 7565 is saying, what would determine whether you use a 6 versus a 5? For the same reason that you woke up this morning and wore a certain color shirt as opposed to another. Not a lot of thought put into it. Or maybe a lot of thought put into it. Maybe you love red. Me, I love black, which is why I'm wearing this today. Can't go wrong with black, right? So it really is a matter of personal preference. So someone writing a song is going to pick a 5 chord over a 6 chord because it sounds better to them for what the application is, what they're doing. With that being said, write this down because this is not in your PDF. Get a pen, get a piece of paper, get a pencil, get some papyrus and a feather and some ink or something. Write this down. Here are the order of the chords as they appear most in all music, in all genres of music, from the beginning of time to the end of time, amen. It will always be this. Goes like this. The one chord you're going to see more than anything else. Why? Because just like the sun, it's just friggin' there. It's like you can't get around it. It's there all the time, all right? And if you don't have it, there's going to be trouble, okay? You can't have material without having a subject. You could, but that'd be really confusing if you're going to have anything, an event. You can't just be like, event, November the 16th. Show up. It'll be fun. You got to say what's happening. Other people are going to be like, I don't think I want to go to that event. It sounds very boring. An event? You need to tell people what it is, right? So that's what the one basically says. This is the key we're in. And so because of that, you're going to get all these other chords and these melodies, and they're going to make sense. But without that one, you don't really have much. You don't have a theme, okay? After that, the next most important chord that you're going to see, I say important, the one that you see the most is the 5 chord. The 5 chord is the most gravitational pointer that says, hey, the 1 chord, get back to it. So there's a myriad of songs written from just the 1 and 5 chord. A lot of country songs written from just the 1 and 5. The next most important chord that you're going to see a lot is the 4 chord. A bazillion songs written 1, 4, 5. Bazillion, okay? And by the way, whatever song you think this is, it's like 17 other songs that are very, very famous, and about 17 million songs that are not famous, okay? Billion people write that. That's 1, 4, 5. Best Friend's Girl, there's a lot of songs written from that. All blues chord progressions, 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5 minor 6 is like 1, minor 6, 4, 5, okay? Or 1, 5, minor 6, or 1, 4, minor 6, 5, okay? In any different way you want to do that, but those are the 4 most important chords. 1, 5, 4, minor 6. Take those chords right now in any key. C or G are going to be the easiest for you. Write 100 love songs from it. I promise you they're going to sound awesome, okay? Literally, those chords are the best, okay? So, yeah. Okay, will you teach me how to play like David Gilmour? I will, Thomas. Much of David Gilmour's sound, or David Gilmour, he's pretty cool too. Both those guys play a lot of blues, a lot of pentatonic. They're using a lot of sounds like this, where we got a lot of reverb. by the way, that chord progression is a 1. Well, I'm sorry. If we're thinking about it like it's in the key of C, remember, it's actually in a minor key, but remember how I said just keep everything in the major key. So in this case here, the 6 would be the minor chord, the 6 minor, as denoted in your really colorful little chart there that's in the PDF that I'm giving to you for free today. We were acting like we're in the key of C. Then in that case, the A minor is the 6 chord. The G is the 5 chord. The F is the 4 chord. Oh, look at that. Those are 3 of those really important chords that we talked about. Okay. Now, if we're in a minor key, we may not go to the 1. Just so happens we may not. And in this case here, we have a major 3, which is kind of outside of the box. Okay. Remember I said that 99% of the time, or probably about 97% of the time, the melody that you see in your little matrix there and the chords that you see in your little matrix there, they're in that PDF, will match up. It's just the construction of music. There's nothing to say that we can't break those rules. Nothing at all. It's art. We get to make the rules, right? We're artists. We get to say what happens. We want to paint the sun purple and the grass, red. We can do that. It's on the ground. People are going to know it's grass. They see a weird-looking sun, different color inside. They still know it's a sun. Why is the sun purple? Because I decided to make it purple. So it doesn't mean that we can't do it, but I guess there's a problem is if we made the sun square with some wings coming out of it and then made it purple, now it's not really a sun anymore. So, we have creative license where we can start changing things and twisting them a little bit. But if you do it too much, you're going to start losing your audience. You're going to start losing the people who you're trying to get to. Otherwise, you just play music in your own room, right? When we express ourselves musically, we're trying to say, hey, this is what I feel. Do you feel it too? And most of the time, if you stay between the navigational buoys somewhat, you will attract a big audience. That's why pop music attracts so many people. And then you get into other genres of music like jazz and alternative and what have you, and you start narrowing the playing field because you're messing with the melodies and the chords in such a way that you're challenging the listener's ear where people go, I don't like that, Okay, it's cool. That's why some people like one form of music more than another. But, I went off on a tangent on that. Sorry about that. But David Gilmour, but David Gilmour plays a lot of blues, which I teach a lot of that, and a lot of bends, a lot of just not fast playing, but a lot of emotional playing. Indeed. Yes, I will help you with that. Quam is saying, I've seen some musicians build different melodies to go over covers. Can you explain how that's done? Yes, Quam, very easily. So let's say we have, let's take this, let's take that chord progression for Hallelujah. You've heard that before, right? So we got this, right? So you've heard this that goes, I heard there was a secret chord that David played and he pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? Right? So that's the original melody to this song, right? But now this is a great question, great example. You could think about the chords as being the backdrop of a picture, okay? So let's say the backdrop is a hillside with a sun and flowers and stuff like that, right? What would you expect to see on a bright sunny day on a hill with flowers and stuff? I know you're saying a lot of things in your mind right now. Kids playing, horses, whatever. But you're probably not going to see on this hill, you're probably not going to see giant skyscrapers coming out of the hill. You might in your mind's eye or whatever, but the backdrop a lot of times will tell us what's going to be in the forefront. And so in this case here, especially with music, if we have the key of C, which this is in the key of C, and I'm playing a one major, and a 6 minor, and a 4 and a 5. Look at there, wow. Eric did that purposely. No, I didn't. I'm telling you, 1, 4, 5 minor 6 rules supreme in the music world. Okay. I went to the BMI Awards last night. Every single song on there, 1, 4, 5 minor 6. They're all 1, 4, 5 minor 6 in some different order or another, different keys, different tempos. This one's singing about a girl in a truck. This one's singing about a girl in a truck with jeans on. This one's singing about a girl in a truck with a beer in her hand. Same thing every single time. But nonetheless, do I sound bitter? I'm not bitter. So, we got these chord progressions, and that tells us what the melody could be. But we get to do whatever we want. So I could say, heard there was a secret chord that David played, and he pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? Okay, so what I did is I just said, I'm picking some other notes out of the scale. Any of them will do. Some of them will sound better than others, but technically, two people talking about the same thing, you can change that conversation any way that you want. You're free to do that as long as you stay within the navigational buoys, right? Stay within the key. Can have that conversation be about the same thing you guys have been talking about, but if you want to change it a little bit or bring in some new information that's related to what you're talking about, then great. And that's the only thing that we're doing here, except in this case here, it's like taking Dr. Seuss, where you heard the same rhyme about the box with a fox and da-da-da-da-da, and we're just using different rhymes, but it's the same structure to where it feels like that. Does that make sense? So you pull any melodies out that you want. Now here, check this out. If you start strumming away chords, G and a D, and you start singing, you're like, Eric, I don't know any music theory. I'm a savant. I just play these chords and the melody starts coming out of me. Okay, cool. What's happening is that you know from an intrinsic level, organically, what the melody should be, because this is in the ether. You've been getting this information since you were a baby. If you've heard any melodies, any advertisements, any commercials, any music on the radio, somebody playing a guitar, anything, you are getting this stimuli all the time. You're getting that structure, whether you know it or not. So if I play this, if I say, I'm just going to play this, terrible chord progression. Let me do this. I'm just making stuff up, right? I'm just humming. We all do this, right? Guess what? These chords are in a certain key, and magically you are singing within the key of the chords that you're playing. But Eric, I don't know any music theory. You don't need to know music theory. Again, this is the people that say they don't know music theory. You know it. You just don't know the daggone labels. You're humming right there in the key. Because if you didn't, if you did this, if you went, I'm going to try to hit a wrong note if I can. Right? That sounds terrible, right? I had to try to do that because it's so built within us, the major scale is so built within us that you automatically start singing what works with the chords. Okay? It's just automatic. So that's another way that you can do this, and that was a great thing to bring up because all those colors are available. When I say colors, because when we're painting, we're not thinking. We're just like, a little yellow, a little red, whatever, I'm doing this. I don't like that so much. I'm going to add more red. That's what you're doing is you're picking out the right notes. Maybe you didn't hit it. Maybe you didn't nail it right away, but you know what note it should have been. Okay? Great, great questions today, friends. So you do whatever you want to do with those melodies, you know. How do you know when you can sub a Dorian for a Mixolydian? Dr. Hoffman saying. Dr. Hoffman, I want you to answer this question first before I answer that. How much do you love jazz? Answer that question for me. I'll be looking out for your answer here, okay? Because Dorian and Mixolydian, number one, those are forms of the major scale. The reason that I don't like to broach this subject is not because I don't know about it. I do. I teach it inside the Unstoppable Guitar System. But it's kind of like basically jumping 75 steps forward when chances are you're never even you don't even want to use those bits, okay? It's not to say that people don't use this, okay? My favorite song, Eleanor Rigby, one of my favorite songs, is written in the Dorian mode. But they weren't thinking that. They just changed one note that turned it into the Dorian mode, okay? But what happens when you start saying Dorian and Mixolydian and stuff, it makes those that do play, it makes it feel like this, what are you talking about here? When realistically, we're just changing like one note. The Mixolydian scale is the major scale with a flat 7, okay? The Dorian scale is the minor scale with a raised 6, okay, of the minor scale. Those start talking like that, it sounds very mystical and what have you. And for as much work as it is to understand it and get there, you won't really have much to show for it. It's just a. So I say that, Dr. Hoffman, for your sake as well. But answer that question for me. How much do you love jazz? Like, why are you asking that question? It's a totally legitimate question. But also, Dorian and Mixolydian are not two scales that you would sub. One's a major scale, the other one's a minor scale. So you would not sub them. You might sub a Mixolydian for a major scale, which you would do that over a 7th chord. But again, when we start talking like that, it makes everything seem very mysterious, and it scares people away. And really, if they have that information, it's hardly gonna make them a better player. They should really be focusing on understanding the major scale, and understanding how you can literally take that and use it over any scale and come up with all these modes. If you really want to go down that road, you can do that very easily, but you don't have to learn all the modes. I learned all the modes the hard way, but I never ever use it that way. Never, hardly ever. Like, might as well be never. Does that make sense? But I'm interested in answering your question, Dr. Hoffman. I'm not fluffing you off. I need to get more info. Does that make sense? Good question. Brian is it possible to publish and sell music under a pen name like your books, like with books? I want to write music, but I want to remain anonymous. Yes, indeed. Everybody does it. Elvis Costello is not Elvis Costello. It's, I forgot what his real name is, but it's some wacky name. Elvis Presley, that ain't his name. Is it? Yeah, it is. I lie. But a lot of people, it's not their name. Sia, obviously, that's not her name. Modes are just different scales using the note in the chords being played over. Okay. Robert, too late, Brian. You just outed yourself. Brian, yes, we know who you are, Brian. When that anonymous music comes out, we know who you are. All right, good. Eric, is your guitar's action very low? You mean as far as the buzzing that you're talking about? It's a little bit low right now. It needs an adjustment. I just don't have the time to get them adjusted. But yes, it's a little bit lower than it probably should be. Okay. Oh, wow. Lots of questions. Shoot. This thing's flying, okay? All right. Especially these questions when it has to do with what we're talking about, but I don't mind answering any of the questions, okay? Okay. So once you nail down the tonal center, all you have are two choices, major or minor for the chord. Della, for the most part, you could play, I mean, you have 7ths and 9ths and 11s and stuff like that, but the core of the chord is a triad, okay? It's either major, minor, or diminished. Those are the three that appear naturally. Diminished, you hardly ever run across, so I'm a big fan of focusing on the things that you're going to run across a lot. Don't take a bunch more energy to study the things that you're rarely ever going to come across. Once you come across them, then you may have some questions about it, but until you get the basics down really well, don't focus on that. Honestly, I think, as demeaning as it may sound as what I'm about to say, I think that's why my lessons have done as well as they have, is because I teach advanced stuff, but I really emphasize so much of the beginner stuff because it's the stuff that people need to know. They keep trying to leapfrog that stuff and get to the advanced stuff because they think that's going to make them better. It's not going to make you better. It's like a surgeon who wants to just, I just want to cut. Let me just get to cut. I know what to do. I know how to cut. Well, I would really prefer you to know all the basics first before you cut me, okay? So let's get that down because I want you to know that the appendix is over here and not over here, okay? I don't want to be cut twice. I had skin cancer at one point, right? This is not a joke. This is a great story. I had skin cancer. They went in and they cut it out. And they didn't get it all. And they had to cut it out again. And I've got this massive scar that's right here, right? And I was going to a dermatologist for something. I was having him check something out. I took off my shirt. This is what he says to me. He says, "Oh, dear Lord." He said, "Who did that to you? Who cut you like that?" I said, "You did, doctor, like 3 years ago." And he was so embarrassed. Isn't that funny? I'm like, he goes, "That's a terrible job. They did a terrible job." I said, "That was you. You did that 3 years ago." Not that I care. I'm a man. I like scars. Chicks like scars, right? I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm so sad. I've forgotten that I was in the States. I was waiting for tonight to watch. I'm having difficulty hearing the strum pattern. How do I figure that out? Nancy, watch my strumming series that I have, or the strumming video that's in the free course today, YourGuitarSage.com/30. It's the one that's in the top of the PDF. But Nancy, what you want to do is you want to listen to the drums. Okay, and I have a video for this. It would take too long to talk about it right now, but essentially you're listening to the drums, the kick drum, the snare, and the hi-hat. That's going to determine 9 times out of 10 what your strumming pattern is, whether there's a guitar there or not. There's a certain groove that songs relay to you, okay? Just like I said, the information's coming to you all the time through the speakers. It is. You just got to know what to listen to. But I have a video for that, Nancy. On YouTube, search YourGuitarSage strumming. It's not the basic strumming video. It's going to be one further down. Like, it's something about like how to determine what the strumming is. And it may only be inside the Unstoppable Guitar System. I've done thousands of videos now. Sometimes I don't know what's where. If it's going to be any place, it's going to be inside the system, right? Okay. Oh, Dr. Hoffman. Okay. Here he replied to me. How do you know? Okay, for a rocking sound instead of a lighter bluegrass sort of feel. Okay, Dr. Hoffman, that's not really going to do that for you. If you're thinking like, okay, well, I know that what's his name? Smooth. What's that guitar player's name? Anyhow, guy from this played Woodstock, Spanish guy. Doesn't matter. He plays in the Dorian a lot, right? Anyhow, with that being said, it's not going to give you really a rockin' sound, Dr. Hoffman. It's not. The scale is dependent on what's being played, if that means anything to you. A lot of people think, and this is why I stray away from emphasizing modes too much, because people think, okay, I could take that widget and I could stick it in here and it's going to make it sound rockin' or bluegrassy, and that's only a very small part of the information. It depends on a lot of other variables, if that matters. Like, for instance, what's happening in the background. If you have something like this chord progression happening, if you have... I don't care what you play over the top of that, it's going to rock. And it's never going to sound like bluegrass, no matter what scale you're using. But I get what you're saying, but Dr. Hoffman, we would have to have a more lengthy conversation about scales and that sort of thing. But from the sound of the question, it sounds like there's some bits and pieces that you need to understand about the major scale first that'll truly open up that other stuff, right? When folks are learning about how to identify counterfeits, they don't study all the different counterfeits. They study the original, because if it's not the original, then they don't have to study all the different types of counterfeits, no matter what this is, money or music or whatever. You just study the original, and then the original, if it's not the original, then it's counterfeit. It's just very simple. So you got to get those basics down, and that will truly help all of that, okay? Okay, so once you nail down the tonal center, all you have is the two choices, right? Okay, so I've been over that one, sorry. What is the benefit of tuning down a half step? Well, for your singer, they don't have to sing as high. You break less strings because there's not as much tension on the guitar. Some people believe that the guitar sounds better. I'm one of those. I do think it resonates a little bit better. It just has a nicer tone to it. Completely subjective opinion. Yeah, those two things. Is there any other reason? Nah. What is the best electric guitar would you recommend for a beginner? Dark. There is no best. There's what's best for you. Watch the second video inside, or the third video inside the free course that I'm giving you today, YourGuitarSage.com/30. Because Dark, I could tell you. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you. Go to kit.com/YourGuitarSage. Go to my kit store, because I've already put those guitars that you're asking about here. But I can tell you they're not best. There is no best. There's no best guitar player. There's no best chord, best key, best scale, best anything. Okay? There's just what's best for you. Okay? We live in a world now where maybe there used to be bests, right? Because there was only like 10 people walking around on the earth, so it was really easy to say that guy's the best guitar player. We don't live in a world like that anymore. We live in a world where there's lots and 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 lots of bests or goods or greats, you know? Otherwise, watch that video, because it will give you the know-how on how you can find out what the best electric guitar is for you. Cool? All right. Oh, man. Okay, I should probably end it because I got stuff to do. I got a series to teach today. And in fact, inside of the Carlos Santana. Thank you, Celeste. Thank you, Sal. That's exactly, Dave, thank you. Yes, that's exactly who I was talking about, Santana. He plays in the Dorian mode a lot. But again, the Dorian mode is like one note away from the minor scale. So, you know, as opposed to thinking of it that way, just figure out the one note that's changed, so Re is 6, and then you can play the Dorian mode. But it probably isn't going to be as magical as you think it is. And this is why I emphasize understand how to use your pentatonic scale. It's like if you don't know how to ride a bicycle, hopping on a motorcycle is not probably going to be a good idea. What's this do? You know, it's like you got to get to doing the basics first. And then the other stuff will make so much more sense, and it'll mean so much more to you once you get to it, as opposed to trying to leapfrog that. This is what I always say. You can skip any step that you want. You can skip all sorts of steps. You can skip over all the basics that I teach and what have you, and just go straight to the advanced stuff. But what you can't do is have the knowledge from that and skip to the advanced stuff. Does that make sense? So you can skip over it, but it's knowledge you won't have. Not only is it knowledge that you won't have, it's knowledge that you won't be able to build upon. So a Dorian mode won't mean anything to you if you don't know what a minor scale is. And the minor scale won't mean anything if you don't know what a major scale is. If you don't know how to work with a pentatonic. So understand how to use your pentatonics. That's why I say pentatonic and major are the most important in the world. Major, because that's what we use to analyze music, and it's what we use to measure it. It's our measuring stick. As a carpenter, we need to have a yardstick or a measuring tape, right? So that's what the major scale is. The pentatonic scale is great for noodling and soloing and that sort of thing. It's very simple, and there's not a lot of variables to work with that are going to mess you up, trip you up. So you get to have limited notes, which are much easier to get used to than lots of notes. So then you get used to that, and then you can graduate to some of those other ones, okay? Sorry, Eric, any more on T-shirts? Steven, yes. All the T-shirts are coming in. Literally, we have an order of like nearly $1,000 worth of stuff coming in. So you guys are going to see it more than you probably want to coming up. Really cool stuff. Mike has been crushing it. He's been creating all sorts of great designs for us. In fact, I think he might have an ugly Christmas sweater t-shirt coming up, which is so cool. He's created some great stuff. So we're just waiting for that box to come in so that you guys can see this stuff, and then we'll make that available to you. But you guys are going to love this stuff. We have stuff for vets. We've got we have so much cool stuff coming up. It's just not even funny. 2019 is going to be nutso, okay? All right, that's all I got for you today, my friends. I would like to keep going. I really do. I love this time with you because I can number one, I find out what it is that you need so I can better serve you. And then two, I love that we have this interaction that you can watch all these videos, but then that one thing that's keeping you from moving to the next level, I can answer it for you, and then boom, you're in the next level. Now you're learning on your own again until the next time we meet, which is tomorrow at 11 a.m., and we can further move on. Okay, so speaking of that, do this. Join me tomorrow, 11 a.m. CDT, Central Daylight Time, maybe? I don't know. That's the more proper way, I guess, than Central Standard Time. CDT, 11 a.m. Same time, same bat channel, Facebook, YouTube. Download the PDF if you haven't. Share this already if you haven't. If you have not already taken advantage of my free course, friends, my goodness, 3 huge things for you today. Eric, I don't have any money. I'm a veteran. Bam, I got you set up. Literally, click on the link that's at the top of that PDF. It's no joke. Veterans, if you're in here right now and you're watching, let the other vets know that this is not a joke. This is not, now we just served like 900 folks, and we've got tons of folks that we still have to serve. So it's going to take a minute, okay, or a few days. So give us a minute. But if you're a vet, please let others know in here that it's not a joke. We're literally giving you the entire enchilada, lifetime membership into the course that you're going to be constantly getting updates and new videos for. So you've got it all right there. It's not a joke, okay? So do that. Check that out. If you are like, Eric, I want a free course, bam, share this because we're going to award a winner today, okay? Some winner is going to win a lifetime membership. Okay, Eric, I still don't have money, but I want to learn from you. Great. YourGuitarSage.com/30. The link for that's at the top of the course, or the top of the PDF. It's for everybody. Go get it right now. If you haven't done it already, you need to, because you're going to learn a ton, especially the stuff we talked about today and finding the tonal center, major scale, all that stuff. The essential 30 lessons that there is no guitar player walking on earth right now that they should not know this. If they don't, they're doing themselves an injustice, because I'm literally making it available to you for free. Or visit me here in Nashville. It'll take us 30 weeks and over $1,000 to do. Or just click on the link. You've got it there. But Eric, I really want a lot more information than what's in that free 30 course. I've gone through it, Eric, and I know all this stuff like the back of my hand. Okay, got you set up. Normally, the lifetime membership to UGS is $400. If you bought $365 separately, that's another $80. We're literally giving you both courses today for 60% off. It's $159 today. Okay, so if you're not a vet, if you've gone through the free course and you want the whole enchilada, if you want a lifetime of guitar lessons and you want these live broadcasts like we do here, except in the privacy of just the Unstoppable Guitar System, folks, much smaller, where you literally are getting every single question answered. We do that twice a month now, and via email every day. Literally, I've got like 50 questions to answer right now that I'll be doing after this inside Unstoppable Guitar System. Then I'm here for you. And then right now it's $159. Click on the link that's at the top of the PDF. Okay, my friends, that is literally all that I have for you today. I've given you everything. Let me know if there's anything else that I can give you. Love you, Brian. Thank you so much for letting us know. Tons of vets right here letting you know right now. It's legit. I'm not playing around. I'm giving this away. So take advantage of it. All right. Thank you so much. Great questions today. You guys played full out. Please let me know how I can help. Love you. Share it. I'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. CDT.